Hello, A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Tuesday night. I'm your host, Easton Freeze. Decidedly not one Andrew Rising, who did get back from Germany. I have been informed this weekend. He was over there living the difficult life that he lives, riding around on international superstar vocalist tour buses, seeing WWE events in Paris, living the bachelor life that could not be any more different from the life that I have. And there are, things about each, I suppose, that are worthwhile. And getting to just go to Germany on a whim is one of those things. But I get to be here with you all on a primetime Tuesday night. I hope you are all having a fantastic start to your game week. That's right, folks. Week 1. We are here. The team, they're game planning. Cam Ward, as we heard today at press conferences with offensive coordinator Nick Holtz, has 65-ish% of the game plan install in his hands. He's probably at his home right now with his dog, studying it, practicing on his VR headset for the Denver altitude. I don't know if there's an altitude setting on there or not. I would imagine not, but how helpful would that be? We got a great show for you guys tonight. I hope you are having a great evening, whether you are joining me over the phone at maybe the gym, maybe you're winding down with a nice cocktail on your couch, thinking about how exciting it's going to be watching the Titans play meaningful football this weekend, hopefully not getting their teeth kicked in by the best defense in the entire league. What an unbelievably terrible draw for Cam Ward, but them's the breaks sometimes. You'd think maybe the NFL schedule makers would like to give the number 1 overall quarterback pick a softer landing, like, I don't know, at home against a team like the Tennessee Titans. You know how Caleb Williams got last year. A game that was handed to him by one William Levis. We're so off track already. We're going to talk about the Titans depth chart, the third unofficial one, I think. The first unofficial one that is 53-man. So it's the first one that looks something like a football team that you're used to. It looks like something you'd see heading into an actual game day. And there are, by my estimation, 5 interesting things of note that we will talk about. And I want to hear from you all in the comments about what you think the most interesting thing on the depth chart is. If you haven't seen it yet, got great news for you. I have it. We're going to show it on the screen. So make sure you're watching with us on YouTube, not just listening along. This is a video program after all. Yes, you do need to look at my ugly mug. You can look at the pretty graphics around you that you can tell. I definitely didn't phone it in on the graphic overlay with a single picture and a simple Q&A. Certainly didn't forget until about 2 seconds before the show that I was supposed to make one of those. But we are doing a Q&A tonight. The important detail is on there. Q&A, per the somewhat usual arrangement at this point. I have found that in my weekly primetime spot, you folks, you good people, really enjoy a rapid fire Q&A. As I, a Titans insider, have access to some things that others do not. I also am paid to pay far more attention to the Titans than practically anybody else on the planet. And so, I'm up to date on the public things. I'm up to date on the private things. And I'm happy to share as much of those things as possible with you all, as long as you present the things in the form of questions. That's the rule. It's kind of like a Jeopardy. You need to present it in the form of a question, and I will happily share any information with you that I have. Titans, life, cooking, otherwise. Wouldn't ask about cooking. It would be quite bad advice. But the rest of it, I do recommend. And we will go rapid fire, and I will answer every single question that has to do with anything Titans related that is sent in the chat between starting right now and the end of the show. So you can go ahead and send them in there now, because I've got trusty producer Ross, who I hear has been hard at work on the radio all day long. I know that 104.5 spent a lot of their day over at Titans House, where they're selling tickets now to the general public. There's a little PSA for you. If you're not a Titans season ticket holder and you've been Squidward looking sadly out your window at Patrick and SpongeBob running around, enjoying buying tickets in the new stadium, it's not just season ticket holders who have access to those now. It is the public as well. So you may go to Titans House, is my understanding. Whenever you can call them and schedule an appointment. They'll have you in. You can see all the cool things. You can see their big scale of the Titans Stadium. I haven't even been to Titans House actually yet. I've been invited twice and wasn't able to go either time. So I should get over there. Maybe I'll see you there. And you can go and buy tickets to the new stadium, which is going to be awesome. I've written a lot about that with some exclusive interviews at AtoZSports.com this summer. If you're interested in hearing more about the stadium, more about the pricing for the tickets, the experience, the sales pitch from the Titans crew. I have a lot of stuff in there from Burke Nihill, primarily the Titans president and CEO, that you will find interesting. Just search Easton Freeze, Burke Nihill on A2Zsports.com. I'm sure you'll find it. We've got a lot to get into today, including your questions, of which I'm already seeing some in the chat. Hello, good evening to all of you. Good to see you all. Hope you had a great Labor Day weekend and you're ready to rock and roll for the season. But before we get started and talk about the depth chart, that's number one, and then we'll get to the Q&A. We need to do a couple of things. Number one, we need to like the show tonight. As you all know, it is written near the front of my contract with A2Z Sports that I have certain like quotas I must hit or my contract is void. And I actually owe money back back payment to the company if I don't hit quotas. So not only will I be out of a job, but I will be out 6 months pay. If you guys don't like the show tonight on Facebook and on YouTube, hit that like button. It is so easy for you. I can't tell you how free it is. It costs you no money and no time, but it is extremely, extremely helpful to me, all joking aside. So please like the show on Facebook, on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, and I can see you rascals. I can see how many of you like it. It's on my screen too, so don't act like you did it when you didn't. Okay, I can see. And then jump into the comments with a number of friends. I see Daniel with some kind words already in the chat. Hello to you, Daniel. Hello to Rooney and Joseph. People saying better late than never. Listen, in a rare moment, the lateness was actually not my fault this time, but I also will stand up for producer Ross, whose lateness was purely due to his unusual on-location radio job today, where he literally couldn't be here until he got here because there was a radio show that he was producing. So he, when you're double booked, you're double booked. That's the way that it goes. We're happy to wait. I appreciate you all waiting. Hello to you, Brennan. Hello. Good, great to see you. Would love to see you in person sometime. Come visit me. A good friend of mine. And so with that, how many? B French asks, how many likes do you have to get? I have to check. It's kind of it's a fluctuating scale based on the time of year. It's dynamic pricing. And so tonight's I'd have to check my chart. But I'm guessing tonight's in the 50 like range. So we're certainly not near that. So we've got about a half hour to get to that number. And I trust that you all can do it. Hello to Joseph. Hello to Drew. Drew, congratulations on the new gig. Looking forward to reading your work this year. Bork, Curtis. Okay. One last thing before we dive into the depth chart, and I'm going to show you all the depth chart with your own eyes. You can look at it here in just a minute. But first, got to shout out our wonderful and amazing sponsors, of which we have two here on tonight's program. First of all, Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. They are serving all of Nashville and the Middle Tennessee area. If you're searching for a trusted Ford dealership in Middle Tennessee, then Two Rivers has you covered. As a leading Ford dealership in Mount Juliet, they pride themselves on offering an exceptional selection of new and used Ford vehicles with a particular focus on the ever-popular F-150 and F-250 Super Duty trucks. Their commitment to customer satisfaction and quality service sets them apart from other car dealerships in the area. They are the South's most trusted Ford dealer, so thank you to Two Rivers Ford. As always, thank you also to TrueMav Fitness. They offer more at TrueMav Fitness than just your average workout. Their signature programming is a challenging boot camp style class that offers high intensity training, and the classes are led by instructors who are consistently pushing your limits and inspiring you to be your best self, not only inside, but also outside the gym. Your first workout is free at TrueMav Fitness. Tell them we sent you here at A2Z Sports Prime Time, and no workout is recycled or repeated, so it will always be fresh over at TrueMav Fitness. Thank you to Two Rivers Ford, and thank you to TrueMav Fitness. And with that, we are off. The Titans' first unofficial 53-man depth chart, if that's enough qualifiers for you, came out today. And it looks like in three chunks, as I pull it up here, looks like this. Which one is this one? This is the defensive side of the ball. So here we go. Some expected starters. In fact, all expected starters, if you've been paying attention. Your three defensive linemen in an odd man front are Sebastian Joseph Day, Devondre Sweat, and Jeffrey Simmons. Arden Key and Draymond Jones starting at outside linebacker at edge with Femi Oladejo right behind them. Your inside linebackers, Cedric Gray and Cody Barton, won that job. Cody Barton's always had the job. Cedric Gray won that job over James Williams, a thing we'll come back to here in just a minute. Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Roger McCreary, and L'Jarius Sneed are your starting cornerbacks as long as they are all healthy and available, of which L'Jarius Sneed is supposed to be on Sunday. So, we'll see how that goes. His first time back in a very long time. And then Amani Hooker and Xavier Woods will start at safety, but Quandre Diggs will rotate in pretty heavily. We heard from defensive coordinator Denard Wilson today saying that we will have to just wait and see how that works, but they do plan on a number of nickel looks, some 3 safety looks. They will get Quandre Diggs rolling in there. They will also get Kevin Winston Jr. rolling in there, who's back in pads and has participated in the past couple of Titans practices. Now, I would expect him to maybe be a slower rollout this season, but he will be back in there nonetheless and probably increasing in his usage each and every week as they try to make him the future at the safety position. So there's the defense. Here's the offense. We've got a couple of notable things on here, primarily that Alec Iamaner is a starting wide receiver. Tyler Lockett starting on the inside and Calvin Ridley starting on the outside. Not shocking there, but Alec Iamaner, rookie 4th round pick, starting at receiver on this depth chart. We will certainly come back to that. Starting tight end, Chig Okonkwo, followed by Gunnar Helm. Your starting offensive line from left to right, the same as it's been with Dan Moore, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Kevin Zeitler, and J.C. Latham holding it down for Cam Ward. Under center, Tony Pollard, your starting running back. No shock there. And that is the entire offensive starter group. So we'll come back to all of this in a minute when we talk about the most interesting elements of these depth charts. And then the special teams. We've got Joey Sly and Johnny Hecker in their positions at punter and kicker. We have, of course, the stalwart Morgan Cox, your long snapper. And then your returner positions have been kind of set up here with Chimere Dike, the starting dual returner at punt and kick duty. Now, if you've been paying attention closely throughout the dog days of summer, listening to the A to Z Sports morning show, the ones that I have done, you have heard me multiple times, at least a dozen times this offseason, mention how in an ideal world, the Titans coaching staff would like to make Chimere Dike a two-way returner. I have said this for months at this point. No one else that I'm aware of in the media has been pushing this, but it is the reality. And lo and behold, here we are in game week 1, and he is the dual returner. So don't say I didn't tell you. Tyler Lockett being the backup punt returner is kind of funny. Hopefully that is not a thing that they have to, implement. And then Bryce Oliver as a kick returner. Maybe that one comes as a bit of surprise to folks. Bryce Oliver increasing in his role as a core special teamer, increasing his utility as maybe the 6th receiver on most folks' depth charts. I would say that he could end up being your 5th or 4th best receiving talent on the roster by the end of the year. Maybe he already is, frankly. Bryce Oliver has been very impressive so far, and I've been on the Bryce train. I've been pushing the Bryce narrative since last offseason. I think a lot of folks have jumped on that train, in the past year, and I think we're all chugging down the tracks here because Bryce Oliver is a fun guy to root for, and I think he's a good ball player. And then Julius Chestnut, your 3rd kick returner if they need to rotate somebody in. So there we go. With all of that, Ross, let's go ahead and ask our Two Rivers Ford take question of the night, and that question is, what is the most interesting element of the Titans depth chart to you? It doesn't actually have to it doesn't have to be the most interesting. Just what is interesting to you? Throw out a number of things that interest you about this depth chart. I have 5 tabbed. There are certainly multiple. I saw Jim Wyatt with the Titans wrote an article on the topic tonight, and he said, here are 20 things that stuck out to me, which I don't know if I could count 20 things that stuck out to me, but maybe we can come up with 20 of our own here in the comments. So send those in. Ross is going to keep an eye on those and flash those on the screen for us. The number one thing I think on everyone's mind is that Alec Iamaner is a starting wide receiver in this group. That it is, as Daniel Caribbean. Daniel, is it Caribbean or Caribbean? Is it the first one or the second one? Caribbean or Caribbean? Let me know. Perhaps the only Caribbean in the entire world really is the Pirates of the Caribbean, and the rest of it is just, why did they? Very side note, but how did they get us saying Caribbean for that movie when it's always just been the Caribbean? That's wrong, right? Am I wrong about that? I don't know. The emergence of Alec Iamaner as a starting receiver on this team is not shocking. Another thing that it's a victory lappy kind of night for me. I can't lie to you. Not a shocking thing if you've been paying attention, not just to me, really to anybody I think that has been in attendance and is worth their salt. They have identified the fact that Alec Iamaner is rising, that he is a talented player, that he was a steal in the draft, I would argue. I'm biased because I was a huge fan of him as a draft prospect long before the Titans ever drafted him. And so, I came in with expectations for him already, but he's on paper, it's like, well, he played for Stanford. He's a 4th round receiver. So, what exactly are you getting from that rookie? What's the track record on rookies like that? are they really going to impact your season? And I'm not saying for sure he's going to impact the season just because he's been named a week 1 starter, but I have been on record since, I don't even know, May, since the draft, certainly since May, certainly since OTAs, that I think this guy is going to be a week 1 starter. We did a whole a whole mini camp hot takes video. Me and Austin did on the morning show back in the spring. And one of my things was that Alec Iamander is going to be a household name by the end of the year, and he's going to be a week 1 starter. And the masses, they laughed at me. It hurt. It was rude. It was hurtful. And I internalized it, and I sat on it until today and till tomorrow morning, where, now I rain hellfire on the doubters and the haters for being wrong on this one. He is, in fact, a week 1 starter. And I told you so once more. All joking and gloating aside, it just makes sense that he's a starter on this team because he does have the upside that he always had. The reason he fell in the draft to where he fell was purely, my understanding, a small medical blip that, at least so far, has not come to fruition in any meaningful or concerning way. And he would have gone higher had there not been some medical uncertainty. Now, you never know. Maybe that pops up this season and becomes a problem, and is the reason why teams avoided him. But I've not heard any concern on that front from anybody in the Titans building since they've gotten him. So I think that the Titans just got away with it. I think they just got a guy. And he is, when you marry the skill set and the body type, the size and the speed, to me, he is the only guy on this depth chart really on paper suited to play true X receiver, true boundary receiver. And that's not to say that Van Jefferson and Calvin Ridley and Bryce Oliver, like, those guys can do it. They will do it. In fact, on the depth chart, if you read it the way that I think it's designed to be read, they've got Calvin as the starting X technically. Now in 2025, pretty much everybody that's not just a slot only guy is going to be rotated inside and out. You're going to be playing some big slot. The X's are going to play Y's. The Y will play X sometimes. He'll play all over just like these other guys will play all over. But in terms of a traditional X skill set, he has a unique skill set when you compare him to the rest of the receiver room. I think that he had that on day 1 of camp. He's come a long way. And it wasn't until the Atlanta week, really, that the coaching staff put forth a serious effort to get him involved and to force feed's kind of the wrong word, but kind of force feed him the ball. Like, even when things weren't going right, when the connection wasn't great, when he was maybe not winning at the catch point, being as strong as he should be, as he can be, they continued to push it and push it and push it. And then in these preseason games, you saw them pushing the ball to him in Atlanta and then against the Vikings. He's somebody that they want involved, and that's why they have him as a starter. And so it is very encouraging that he got there already. Was I sure he'd be a week 1 starter? No. I had said all along, I'm sure he'll be heavily involved in September, probably a starter by the end of the month, and maybe even a week 1 starter. And he did it. He is a week 1 starter. Ben asking, how tall is he? 6'1" or 6'2". He's not towering. He's on the taller side, but he is he's got a frame that matches that of a bigger bodied outside receiver. He is big. He and Bryce Oliver are like the two bigger guys in this room. Calvin Ridley is a very slender, not super short, but slider guy than those two. Tyler Lockett, we know him to be a smaller guy. Who else am I blanking on in this room? Chimere Dike, who we'll talk about in a second, is roughly the same size, but he's not as built. He's not as stout, or not stout. He's not as muscular is the wrong word. He's got a more slender frame than Alec does. Alec has more of a wide-bodied, tow truck frame to him. And you can look up his exact numbers. I don't know if he's 6'1" or 6'2". He's, 205, 210, something like that. He's not like AJ Brown big. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's like the biggest receiver in the league, but he's just in that mold of, okay, this is a big bodied, and it's not just the size, it's marrying with the speed, right? For his size, he is tops percentile for the speed that he has. And that's the key, is that he's big and fast and strong, and bigger and faster and stronger than you. And that's why he projects to be a traditional X if that's what they want to use him as. I'm sure they're going to use him at least some in that capacity. Let's flash some more of the answers up on the screen, Ross, if there are any. What is surprising to you all about the depth chart? Because I want to see if we can maybe just naturally get to some others on my list. Bork says, Iamander, yes. Gray officially winning the battle, and Lord help at edge. Yeah, I've got nothing on the edge besides, indeed, say prayers, maybe nightly all season. And that God is able. I'm not sure if he's willing on that one. The Titans might just have to kind of wander the desert on the edge for a while. Real quick on the Gray situation, that's one of the ones on my list. Is just that if you weren't sure, now you know. This is the first time they have acknowledged publicly that Cedric Gray did in fact win the battle over James Williams. And all I have to say on that is it's just really cool, man, when you get to see a guy really flip the switch in such a tangible short amount of time, like almost overnight in the middle of this camp. Cedric Gray came online, and I was there at practices and at these preseason games. Like, whoa, where did this come from? Where did that guy come from? I was watching that guy last week. I was watching that guy in the spring. I was watching that guy last year. Where was he? Where was he in the beginning of camp? And the confidence, it shot up, obviously, at least the way that he's playing in terms of not experiencing, outwardly projecting that confidence, showing his confidence. He's doing it in a very different way than he was a month ago today. And that's the fact that he did that without game reps. Like, usually it takes live reps and experience, and he's getting close to live reps in practice, and he's in pads. And so they rotated him in, but he wasn't always even getting starter reps this spring or this summer or spring. My point being is, I'm kind of rambling here. I don't quite know how he did it, and it's just a credit to him, his development, his pedigree as a player and a draft prospect, proving that he was worth of a 4th-round pick to have come along the way that he has after looking pretty bad in very limited snaps in year one. And it's a credit to Frank Bush, the Titans linebacker coach, who had up until this point gotten still. Some folks are saying, well, let's see if Cedric Gray is actually any good in the regular season, which I agree. Let's see him against, real offenses. Let's see him hang against the big boys. But Frank Bush has gotten flack that he's like not developed anybody at linebacker in his career. Like, well, Frank Bush, the developer with these young guys, who's he developed? Well, maybe the answer is Cedric Gray and or James Williams. And that's something that will be an exciting thing to track this season. The next question I saw you flash up there, Ross, is about the safety rotation. It seems interesting. I agree. I don't have a great answer for you on that right now either. I know that, you don't typically rotate safety the way you do other rotational positions on the defense. And that's the way that Nick Suss with the Tennessean asked the question today. Like, well, it's not like a linebacker or defensive line group where it's like a hockey rotation. You get them in and out. So what are you going to do with these 4 safeties and really 3 safeties that you want in week 1? Because I think Winston will be purely a situational, maybe a handful of snaps here or there to ease him back in. Quandre Diggs was a starter for this team last year, a good starter. He, in the first half of the season, was one of 2 players that really held the entire defense together, him and Ernest Jones. And when they lost those 2 guys in consecutive weeks, week 8 and 9, you in real time watched the defense come apart at the seams because they were no longer there to hold the spine of the defense together. So that caliber of guy, assuming he's still got it and the foot injury didn't hamper him, that he's back 100% healthy, that he's not been claimed by Father Time in the last year. He is older, but there's no indication that that's the case. What I'm not saying that Amani Hooker and Xavier Woods are players worthy of being taken off the field. Like, they're also starting caliber safeties. So what do? I know they're going to play a number of 3 safety looks. I think they're going to use these guys in the box. They're going to deploy their linebackers and safeties and some of the more physical cornerbacks in blitz situations in ways to affect the quarterback, to supplement the lack of edge rush, right? To help the defensive front remain multiple, be exotic, throw a lot of weird, confusing Todd Bowles-esque defensive looks at the opposing quarterback, in this case, Bo Nix, who you're hoping has, is still green enough as a processor to be thrown off by some of these things. So maybe that's the way that you use these guys. And we know that all these safeties can get downhill, some better than others, but you can use them in that way. I'm just excited to see what it looks like. I don't have a super great answer for you. Maybe we'll continue to poke away at that. Maybe we'll ask Brian Callahan tomorrow about that. But I'd imagine they want to kind of just keep it a secret until we get to the beginning of the season. VolZX8 says, I'm surprised by Kalel Mullings listed as the 3rd running back. I see him getting a lot of opportunities as the season progresses. Yes, that is another thing on my list. Well done. Kalel Mullings buried on the depth chart here as the 3rd running back, as you can see on your screen right now, behind Julius Chestnut, a guy that, maybe 3 weeks ago, however long it's been since Tyjae Spears hurt his ankle. Were any of us really expecting him to make the roster? I know I wasn't. Now he's not only made the roster, but he's in a place that, not irreplaceable as the backup running back because it's still a temporary position. But when you've got a one player cushion with a rookie who they're not looking to cut necessarily on the depth chart, got to feel pretty good if you're Julius Chestnut, right? I know that a big part of the reason why he is where he is that he is the better of the two between he and Mullings when it comes to being able to trust them as personal protectors for Cam Ward on passing downs and third downs, and so they don't want Kalel Mullings accidentally getting Cam Ward killed. Like you can't have that happen. He's got to prove himself as a protector, and he messed up a couple of times in the preseason in a way that I'm sure the coaching staff said, "Oh, okay, let's pump the brakes on this. Let's go with the guys that are veterans who we know can process the protections and are adequate blockers." And Tony Pollard's going to do some of that too. But when he's not doing it, it's going to be Julius Chestnut for the beginning of the season. Maybe eventually you see Mullings worked back in there. So that's interesting. Ross, anything else about the depth chart that folks find interesting until we get to nothing? Okay, so he's saying no. The one last thing I'll point out before we get to some rapid fire questions for the last 10-ish minutes of the show, as we try to cram these things packed full with as much information as possible, is the return situation. I've got a couple of different articles, one that I think will go tonight, one that'll go tomorrow morning on AtoZSports.com, talking about the gamble that the Titans are making with the way, not that they're making Chimere Dike the returner, but really just the way that they went about getting him ready. Now, we've talked to Bones Fossil today about this, and we've got a couple of clips that we'll play from him here in just a second. But this was a guy that they didn't deploy in the preseason games at punt returner except for 2 attempts, one of which he fair caught, I think. Maybe both. Okay, maybe generously, let's say he fair caught 2 punts in the preseason. Not exactly a whole lot of proof of concept. Now, he did it a lot in practice, and Bones Fossil is going to talk to that here in just a second. But they when I asked Bones Fossil 2 weeks ago whether they'd be confident about Chim Dike being the week 1 punt returner, either one, he said, probably not yet. Well, the answer is now is yet. Yet is now. So let's hear from Bones Fossil. Here's what he had to say on Chim Dike being the returner.
Yeah, I don't think anything changed. I think it was just looking for more opportunities to get him touches. And I always feel, like I said a couple of weeks ago, a rookie needs to overtake somebody, not just be the incumbent immediately. So I think, he'll be our starting punt returner. You'll see Chim and Bryce Oliver back there on kick return with a 2-returner look. But I think Chim has, in college too, he's shown great decision making. I think he's got fantastic ball skills. A little bit of a baseball background helps with the tracking part. We all as a staff have total trust in his ball security. And then he's a talented runner. So, you could put all that together. And he's a young guy, but he does have a lot of college experience doing both punt return and kick return. So, to be honest with you, all along I felt great about him. I just wanted to make sure that he had to fight to earn the starting spot, not just be handed it to him because he was a draft pick and there's other guys in the room. So I think he did what he was supposed to do. He won the job, and I'm really excited about what he's going to do for us.
All right, I'll try not to blow your ears out if you turned the volume up to be able to hear Bones there, as this has now turned into an ASMR episode. One more clip from Bones, which you can leave your volume turned up so you can hear him, and then we'll get back to our regularly scheduled volume here in just a moment.
Yeah, so in the games, it didn't feel like we had a lot of opportunities. Part of it was because I was trying to give everybody opportunities, so it limited everybody a little bit. But we had a ton in practice, and I think it goes back to what we saw in practice is his ability to catch punts, track punts, hold on to the ball when he's going through traffic. Even though returners aren't live, you can still get a sense for ball security. And his college tape matched with what his pro practice and game tape has been. Just a real steady. I know he's only a rookie, but he feels like a little bit of a seasoned professional with all of the intricate parts of when I catch a kick return and this is the call, where do I press it? How do I set it? How do I set up my blocks? And so there's an instinctive part of his game that it's hard to describe that I think he has and he'll continue to develop that gives me a lot of confidence that he'll give us, a spark in the return game. I really believe that.
All right, so you can turn your volume back up, so I'm going to quit whispering here. We'll see how it goes. Is it a gamble? Yes. Am I confident it's going to be a disaster? Certainly not. Chim Dike he has experience returning punts at Wisconsin and at Florida. A ton of them? No, but he did it, and he did it well in both places. So we'll see if that translates to the NFL and if he can pick it up, having not had any live reps in the preseason. So I'm not sure it's going to be a disaster, but I can certainly not say whether or not I think it's going to. I can't say either way. I'll be watching with great interest. I'll be seated and watching with great interest in the press box in Denver. I will certainly not be going to the bathroom during Denver punt situations. I want to see what that looks like. And I'm sure you all will as well. All right, this is your 8-ish minute call to get any questions you have about the Titans or otherwise. We are now in the Q&A portion of our show. Producer Ross has been kind enough to favorite 11-ish questions. So if you've asked a question so far, we will get to you. If you're in line, stay in line. And if you want to jump in line, you can jump in line. Go ahead and ask your questions. You have like 5 minutes to get them in. Anything you want to ask. Ross, fire away. What's our first question? Logan Shitwood, is Joey Slye the kicker for sure? Right now, sure is. At 100%. Will he stay that? If he makes the kicks all year, yes. If he starts missing kicks, probably not. Like I do worry. Nick Suss put it this way today, and I think that he's 100% right. Nick is very good at making these insightful comments. He said that he's pretty sure that the 10 role players on special teams this year have gotten significantly better, which eliminates the downside risk of disaster plays, right? Like the stuff that we saw at the first half of last year where the Titans special teams was all-time special teams. That's good. He's also pretty confident that the specialist positions might be worse. So the kicker, the punter, the returners, those positions might have gotten worse than last year, which, you eliminate the potential for disaster. Yes, good, great. But are we sure that Chim DK is going to be able to handle the return spots? We're not sure yet. Are we sure that Joey Slye is going to be better than Nick Folk? I kind of doubt it, to be honest with you. I kind of doubt it. So we'll see. And are we sure Johnny Hecker's better than Ryan Stonehouse? I know Stonehouse didn't even stick in Miami this year, which is a bummer. But Hecker also has had a couple of pretty rough practices this summer. So we'll see. Well, I don't know whether they're better or worse. So we will see. Next question. Vol ZX8 says, should we be nervous at all that Kush is coming back with what some consider, should we be nervous at all that Cushenberry is coming back somewhat quickly? That some consider it to be somewhat quickly. Sorry that I kind of stumbled through the phrasing of that question, but I think it's fair to be concerned. That was the last thing that I actually kind of forgot about and glazed over during our earlier portion of the show that I'm appreciative of you bringing up. The Cushenberry timeline seems to have worked out for now for the Titans. They have maintained all summer that Cushenberry is tracking. He's tracking. He should be good for week 1. And it looks like he is. So you know what? Good for them. We should have trusted him. But I won't say that it is correct until, like, it's one thing to be medically greenlit to go and get out there. It's another thing to get out there and be on your Achilles for the first time, fully weight bearing against a really, really good Denver defense, by the way, with very, very little football action to speak of the past past year for the past, actually almost 10 months to the day will be opening game day from when he tore his Achilles last year. So that's another thing that I'll be watching with great interest. How does that look? Does he look confident? Does he look conditioned? Does he look like he's moving well? These are all questions that I have. I'm glad that he's back. That's step 1, is get back on the field. Step 2, certainly have not cleared that hurdle yet. It is, are you good? Like, are you the guy that you're supposed to be? And if he's not the first week back, I won't be particularly surprised by that. It's just a matter of how bad he is. Is it bad or is it untenably bad? We'll have to see. Next question. King Titan 23, Kaiser White, who the Titans are signing to the practice squad, isn't official yet, but that's happening. Linebacker, by the way, formerly with Arizona. He was 15th in tackles last season with 137. That's huge. His signing is confusing, though, with James and Cedric, hopefully as hopeful developmental players. What does his role realistically look like on this team? So he's going to be at the practice squad to begin. He's not been with the team in like 8 months or something. So he's, as far as we know, not football conditioned. He doesn't know the scheme. He's a guy that is an elevation candidate at best right now. I understand when you see his season that he had last year, that's like a whoa. That's not a roster churn. That's a guy that can play. He was a good starter last year. I get that. I think that he is veteran insurance for if James Williams or Cedric Gray, but I would circle Williams in this, isn't kind of wanes a little bit. And we got a little bit over our skis about how far he's come during the preseason portion, during the offseason portion. What if he actually is just a lot better than he was, and he's just a very good special teamer and isn't quite a guy that you want on the field? I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying once we get to we graduate to the real stuff and he has to be out there playing against real guys, is he going to be a plus starter? Is he going to be a serviceable starter? Is he going to be a replacement level starter? Or is he going to be somebody that you're wanting to replace? In which case, maybe then Kaiser White comes into the picture. So I think they're glad to have him. And I think that him being here has everything to do with him realizing he has no other options but to join somebody's practice squad. And he goes to the team that maybe offered the most, which may have been the Titans, which was not a whole lot to join a practice squad. And maybe he goes somewhere also like the Titans where he sees opportunity to push a couple of young guys that he probably thinks, well, I can beat these kids out. And that's good for them that they've now got somebody behind them pushing them in practice. So I think that's the reason why the Titans brought him in. Next question. I wrote, do y'all think Chig keeps the tight end, the starting tight end spot, or will Gunnar Helm take it eventually? I think that's a great question because my gut tells me that by the end of the year, we will regard Gunnar Helm as the better tight end, but I don't know how much of that has to do with the fact that I think he's going to score more of the touchdowns. I half jokingly said on Twitter the other day that I think this year there's a chance, and I would argue, frankly, this is what should happen, that Chig Okonkwo has 850 yards and 1 touchdown, and Gunnar Helm has 250 yards and 8 touchdowns. Because these are two different players that I think their skill set best translates to different parts of the field. I think the Gunnar Helm's the guy you want in the red zone, inside the 20. And I think Chig Okonkwo is the guy that you want helping move the ball between the 20s. Does that make sense? I think that he's somebody that is a top 3 player, in my opinion, on this team, no question, in terms of guys that I would like to get the ball in their hands in space and just let them go be an athlete. Chig Okonkwo runs through a son of a gun's face every time he has the ball in his hands. He's very entertaining to watch. It's just a matter of having reliable hands, being a reliable route runner, getting the ball to him, and giving him a couple steps to get ahead of steam. So that's the way that I think they're going to use him, and that's how I think he can have a big year. Gunnar Helm is what Josh Whyle, the hope he would become and never did become, a sure-handed, big-bodied, strong, savvy route runner in the red zone who the quarterback can hit because he's a big old target out there, and he's going to win at the catch point. We saw at the beginning, or near the end, in the second half of the, I believe it was the Falcons game. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. The Falcons game, where he has that awesome touchdown, the rip from Brandon Allen. An ill-advised throw, by the way, because the running back could not have been more wide open and also probably would have scored a touchdown, but made for a sick pass and a great proof of concept for what Gunnar Helm can be. Next question. Drew, what's up, Drew? What do you make of Marcus Harris being listed as a boundary cornerback instead of a nickel cornerback? I know Womack is primarily a slot, but I have a hard time seeing Harris translate anywhere other than inside. I hear what you're saying, and I certainly have, because I won't lie, you may have, Drew, because I know you grind the tape. I did not watch Marcus Harris until he was drafted. He wasn't even on my radar to watch film until he was drafted, and then I went back and watched him retroactively, and I get you. The physical limitations alone seem to translate to that. The play style, I think that he's a junkyard dog, so like he is aggressive enough to hold his own on the outside, but physically, are those limitations just too much to overcome? That's the question that I have. And what do I know? I guess because the Titans coaching staff seems to think otherwise. So you and I are just going to be left scratching our heads and either, say, what the heck? Why did you think that was going to work when it clearly wasn't going to work? If it doesn't work, or if it works, we're going to say, I wonder why. And then we'll dig into that. So all I know is that from a reporter standpoint, that seems to be what they want him to do. Maybe it's at the very least what they feel like they need him to do. Maybe it's also a supply and demand thing. And they're just like, well, it's not ideal, but remember Roger McCreary? Remember how much he played outside at times early in his Titans career out of necessity? And now that they have other guys, he's where really he belonged all along on the inside. Maybe it's one of those things. And it's kind of a, certain offensive linemen are, the coaching staff would really, really prefer him to play right tackle. But frankly, when you're a backup, you don't have the luxury of having a choice. You need to be somebody that can be a swing. And maybe that's what Marcus Harris is they're like, brother, you got to be able to play inside outside if you're gonna be a backup. Maybe one day you can solidify your job as a starter, but for now, learn it all. Next question. Ben Hall, was Van Jefferson expected to start over Ironmanner? If you were paying attention to my work the past couple of weeks, arguably months, yeah. Others seem to be surprised by it today, and I think that is just look at what they have said, look at what they've said all summer, look at what I've said all summer, and then you decide who you think you should listen to in this market. Next question. Mono Patino, fun name. How confident are you in Snead playing week 1? I am super confident he's going to play a snap. From there, I have no confidence. It's all house money after snap number 1. He'll be out there. He'll be wearing pads. I'm certain of it. How it goes, if he stays healthy, if he looks fast, I don't know. But mark that down as the third thing that I will be watching with great interest on Sunday. Next question. Iro says, when is Spears coming back? Well, he is on short-term IR, so he has to miss at least the first 4 weeks of the season. He could return in week 5, and I'd guess, based on what I've heard, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm also not super familiar with his situation, but I've heard that it's something that they're reasonably optimistic that he could come back after that first month. So hopefully in week 5. Next question. Borkington, hello, Bork. People being surprised by Iron Manor proves Easton needs more Twitter followers. You said it, man. You said it. I have a lot of Twitter followers, of which I'm grateful, but not enough. Not enough. I see others in this market have 10 times what I have. And, are they surprised today? Ask yourself these questions. Next question. Daniel Caribbean. Question. Did we ever get clarification, by the way? Caribbean? Bueller? Question. Do you think Wiley veteran Tyler Lockett, there you go, going against rookie, I can't read. Hang on. Some of the phrasing of these questions are real fun. Question. Do you think the wily veteran Tyler Lockett going up against rookie Nickelback Jahdae Barron, formerly of Texas, is the primo matchup for the Titans to target? No. It's the first one. So what was the first one? Caribbean or Caribbean? Caribbean. I think Caribbean. Daniel Caribbean. I'm going with that. I don't think so. I see where your head is at. But the reason I think not is because if you go watch Tyler Lockett's limited tape from the preseason, you see a guy that can't separate. Like Tyler Lockett, your expectations for him should be low this year. Jahdae Barron's very good. But one-on-one, pure athleticism, Jahdae Barron is the reason why he went where he did in the first round. Like, he rules. So are there ways for the Titans end of that matchup to get over on him once or twice for some rookie mistakes? Totally. And Tyler Lockett, I'm not saying he's going to be a non-factor in this game, but is he like the guy that they're going to game plan? Like, the Tyler Lockett games what we're starting out with this year. I kind of don't think so. I don't think there's going to be any Tyler Lockett games this year. Next question. Almost done here. Kyle Robinson says, is there any indication of DK as the returner being a John Fossil decision or more of a Prochet not making the roster decision? I think it was a group. I really do think it was a group decision. I think that the Prochet not making the roster is really what did it. Because if he was on the roster, I think that he'd be the returner at least to begin. Long story short, Prochet being on the roster, and in hindsight, we were talking about it the week of cut down, so we weren't talking about it enough because it's what ultimately decided whether he made the roster or not. Him being on the team forced a math problem the Titans didn't want to have to solve. Because if they kept 7 receivers and Prochet was the 7th receiver, which frankly, the way that he played in the preseason, he deserved to be, but he became a math casualty, frankly. They were on game days, every game day, going to be confronted with keeping somebody off the active roster that they don't want to be off. You really can't take 7 receivers active into a game day. You need to get somebody down for the day. So who's going to be? It's not going to be Ridley. It's not going to be Iron Manor. It's not going to be Lockett. Those are your starters, right? It's, as much as some fans would like it to be, it's not going to be Van Jefferson. It's not going to be Bryce Oliver because he's one of your returners. He's a starting gunner. He's a core special teamer. You got to have him on teams. It's not going to be Prochet in that situation because he's your starting punt returner. So you're left with Jim DK. And talk about a great way to stunt a rookie receiver's ability to grow is just never have him available to play any real football all year. How's he supposed to potentially develop? So they chose the least of the evils in their estimation, and that was putting James Prochet on the practice squad where I'm sure he'll be the first person they go to if they need reserves at receiver because somebody gets hurt. Next question. Brandon Beversluis, which is so not the way you say that, but it sure is a fun name to read. Last question here tonight. How has Jackson Slater looked? I love little Jackson Slater. Shout out to Jackson if he ever sees this. He has been the least discussed rookie. Could he play in a pinch or is he fully a developmental project? He could play in a pinch. Will he be their first or second option? No, because they've got swing tackles that they'll like. Jackson Slater's not playing tackle, so that he's not a consideration there. And then on the inside at center, he's third in that line behind. This is a whole other conversation for another day, but he's third in that line behind Corey Levin. I know Corey Levin's not on the active roster right now, but he functionally is, and he will be back soon. Okay. Beverschluss, really? That's how you say it? Wow. That's that was at least plus 900 for that one to hit correctly, and it did. So I hope you took that bet. You've got your backup center, Corey Levin, in front of him, and you've got a backup guard in front of him in Blake Hance. So he'll be the third guy off the bench, or I guess the second guy off the bench, depending on what position goes down. But he is somebody that I think would like to just develop, but they wouldn't be panicked if they needed him. Does that make sense? I think that he is certainly somebody that maybe even if the year is kind of lost at the end of the year would benefit from, God forbid, we don't want that to happen, but he's somebody that definitely could benefit from some late season reps because, they're maybe gearing him up to compete for a starting role next summer, which I think has been their plan all along. All right, that's our show. Ross, thank you for hanging out with me for the past 45 minutes. Thank you to all of you all in the comments for hanging out. I'll be back with Austin, the long-awaited, and by long-awaited, I mean like 4 mornings in a row that I've not been on the morning show, but I'll be back tomorrow morning with Austin. We're talking Titans preview all week long. But the real preview shows are on Thursday and Friday. Me and JT doing our Titans season preview on Thursday. Going to be very fun. We're going to do some Titans season take purging. If you know, that's going to be a very fun one. And then the return of Zach to the morning show. Zach and Austin, OG A to Z Sports morning show on Friday, as Zach, I guess, spends all morning getting all of his summer takes off of his chest because he has been away from the microphone for many months. So looking forward to the next couple of days of shows. Going to have content coming, written content, a bunch of it in the next 72 hours on A2Zsports.com. You want to check it out. Do all those things. Like the show on your way out. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night.